So there's been huge news. Basically, Perplexity's ranking factors been leaked. The person who basically put this together was Metahan Yesoyer. I don't know if I butchered the name, but pretty much I'm gonna dive into exactly what was broken down within his article and what you can be implementing into your strategy to start ranking within Perplexity. And I'm gonna leave a link to this in the description on his article if you guys want to look more further into it. But basically, I'm gonna break down exactly the Perplexity rankings leaked and also the core ranking factors, explanation, and action plans you should be initiating to start increasing more visibility within Perplexity. So the number one core ranking factor, especially when you create a new post, is basically driving as much engagement as possible. So when we see here is basically on platforms like Discover, its performance is pretty much evaluated within the first 30-minute window within a publication. So the post first has to achieve a minimum threshold of 1,000 impressions to qualify for more of a broader distribution. So it's extremely important to have high click-through rate, example above 4.2%. So this is extremely important. So ways you can optimize increasing more of like that new post signals is launching through different distribution channels. So posting on social media channels like X, LinkedIn, YouTube, and linking to your specific post would help bring in more traffic directly to the blog post that you created on your site. Focus a lot of basically you focus a lot of your promotional efforts within the first 30 minutes, crafting compelling titles and meta descriptions, and then avoiding low value topics that won't bring enough eyes to the specific post would definitely not help out at all. So Perplexity is definitely looking at these new signals as soon as your post goes live. So I would avoid also trying to, so if you want more visibility within Perplexity, I would try to avoid doing soft launches on any content that you post, because this would basically affect the new post signals, and a lot of that visibility wouldn't really come into play within the first 30 minutes. So this is extremely important. So what we have next, topic targeting. So Perplexity favors more specific topics, and they implemented more multipliers when it comes to that. So high value areas would be things like AI, science, marketing, etc. So those have more strong multipliers. Also, like user subscribed standard topics have a multiplier of 3x. But the number one topic you would want to stay away from that isn't really getting more of like that visibility would be entertainment and sports, which that has the lowest multiplier and is severely demoted. So it all comes down to basically the niche and industry that you're posting in that would have more visibility when it comes to gaining more visibility within Perplexity in general. So what I would specifically do to improve this is just build an audience in the specific topic areas, like I just explained before, and avoid restricted topic areas, which would be entertainment, sports, and even education. Then we have algorithmic time decay and visibility windows. So basically, content visibility is pretty much affected on an exponential time decay. So a post receives its maximum reach only within like the first critical hours after publication. And what's important as well is content refreshes are not only important in terms of gaining visibility within like different LLMs, because ChatGPT pretty much has a similar ranking factor where they're pretty much prioritizing a lot of new content, but content refreshes in terms of traditional SEO is extremely undervalued, and it's something that you can get insane boosts when implementing the strategy well. So I guess I can just quickly run through exactly how would you get these quick wins in terms of just like traditional SEO and gaining more visibility within that, which in return will help you gain more visibility within LLMs because they are rewarding fresh new content. So I'm looking at Uniqlo, really big clothing brand. They're gaining a lot of good increases month over month in terms of keywords ranked. So a good strategy you can do is analyze your own website, go through all the keywords ranked, then pretty much filter this position from, let's say, 10 to, let's do position 10 to 30, show results. Then you can come up, basically you would see a huge list of keywords that you're ranking within position 10 to 30. Analyze these landing pages. So for example, we have platform sandals. Let's look more like at a CLP. So we have men's jeans, Basically, what you would want to do is you would want to optimize the page for one. If it's not SEO optimized for the specific type keywords, it's already building a lot of rapport in terms of ranking. So you just got to give it a little bit more signals in terms of maybe improving the keyword density. You might not have the correct header structure, or even just optimizing like the meta title, meta tags, etc. So let's see. Yeah, so a good recommendation here, especially when it comes to e-commerce sites, is adding more descriptive text at the bottom, even like frequently asked questions. Typically, you would see like a lot of text at the bottom that has more content, more headers, etc. Here, they just have their products and their H1, which is good to see. A nice little short description as well at the top, basically at top of the page, but there's no additional content and it's really thin content as well. So that's something you can, so this is like a strategy you can implement, whether it's like a blog post, a service page, or even a COP page like Uniqlo has, where there's an opportunity to improve visibility with the rapport of keywords that they're already ranking for. So pretty much actionable plans you would do is treat the first hour critical. So brand new content, as explained before, when you're posting, they need to meet that engagement requirement the Perplexity algorithm is looking for within the first 30 minutes. So publishing it through social media profiles as soon as you either refresh the content or create a new content. So there's also a time decay within these posts. So after basically 2 to 3 days, it starts fading and becoming a little bit more irrelevant, since the Perplexity algorithm is prioritizing and rewarding a lot of fresh new content. So posting 2 to 3 days is another good strategy where you're keeping that consistency, creating more of like more velocity content published, and also gaining more visibility because you're within that threshold of the decay from within the content. Another thing is plan content refreshes. Basically, the strategy I just gave you. Try to look for keywords that you're ranking anywhere from like 10 to 30, where you you think there's opportunities to optimize, or even just like old content where people basically label it as like 2024 best XYZ, whatever, updated to 2025. Then also prioritizing like breaking news, trending commentary, or something that has algorithm bias of what is new. So that's a great action plan to take in terms of content creation. Now, pretty much when we're looking at this whole section right here, all of this is basically referring to EEAT, or expertise, experience, authoritiveness, and trustworthiness. And you really want to just focus on topical authority and content quality score. So when we're looking at these signals and action plans, basically there is the L3 entity search re-ranking and quality gates, where basically they're looking at this threshold of the quality and how you're matching the intent based on the search query you're trying to rank for. So that just comes down to how high quality your content is. And they're looking for a specific quality score that they basically categorize your content on basically a certain metric that they have, and you need to have at least above a 0.75 plus quality score. Optimized for machine learning signals. So basically you want to create content that is easy to read for LLM bots. So in this case, you really want to have a example H2 that has a question, and like just answer that question as soon as possible within the body of the content. So basically chunk sized content that's easily or organized, that is easy to read for the LLM bot crawlers, and also structured where they can just pull a lot of data easily within that, influence their generative result for that specific query, build authority on specific entities. So just creating a lot of pillar pages, improving internal links, so that way the crawlers understand the site as a whole, and also the content that's supporting the content you basically just created. And then it just comes down to sustained engagement. And then it just comes down to engagement signals as well, like week over week. So not only within that first 24 to or 2 to 3 days where that has more of that peak, they're also looking at engagement within throughout the week. So this is why building consistent high quality content over time, making sure there isn't content that has a low click-through rate. So basically either optimize a certain content or just remove a content that serves no purpose if there's no visitors coming to that or if they have a really low click-through rate. Then basically semantic relevance and user content matching, basically everything I just explained before. You really want to create topics and basically use the natural languaging processes for that specific industry that you're writing about, and then also create internal links with pillar pages that are supporting that within your website as well. And yeah, optimize content to answer queries completely. So as I explained before, try to structure it where you have an answer to a question as soon as possible, easily read within your content. So that way the LLMs basically pick up on this and cite your sources much more easier and effectively. And content memory, network effects, pretty similar of everything that comes here. So all this basically falls into one. And then we're looking at the feed algorithm and visibility limits. So you want to optimize publishing schedule, align strategy with new feed algorithm, time post, and around cache refreshes. This is a little bit hard to really gauge and understand because this can change within Perplexity. We don't really know exactly the time post, like when does a cache refresh happens, or when your strategy aligns with the new feed algorithm, because this is subject to change over time and overall. But this can give you a little bit more insights into what else plays a factor in visibility within Perplexity. So we also have the content filtering. So basically, if the system already has content a user has already viewed within the last 24 hours and it's duplicated, their goal is to not have a repetitive user experience. So you probably won't rank for, or you won't be a source for specific queries multiple times within Perplexity. So things you want to focus on when it comes to this is making sure you don't really have duplicate content, which this can also affect more your visibility within traditional search, like in Google search results, where they penalize duplicate content. So making sure you have your canonical tags set in place correctly. If you do have like paginations, for example, on an e-commerce site, and then also making sure you don't really have duplicate content on a content marketing aspect as well. So this also falls in line within like negative signals, but pretty much the system uses a feedback, basically like dislikes, as a critical ranking signal. So make sure you avoid controversial topics, monitor feedback closely, how people are interacting within your site, and maintaining like different distinct content angles would definitely help out as well. So another thing to point out is diversity. So there's an algorithm that enforces hashtag diversity by requiring variety and high relevance. So basically, and it also tracks preferences. So basically there's a limit of external links that are suggested within your content. So in my suggestion would be keeping external links below 30%. Obviously external links help out a lot, especially if you're like sourcing like a data point that you're mentioning, which is heavily favored within like these type of LLM models. And then limit links to any single domain as well. But pretty much the AI-driven ranking infrastructure falls in line with everything I talked about, just prioritizing ML-friendly content, monitoring any updates within the model, and then focus on AI-friendly content. So basically the structure where it's easier to rank, easier for the LLMs to read and rank your content, and then implementing things like schema markup to provide more context. And interesting enough, even Microsoft confirms schema helps its LLMs, which is Copilot. So implementing as much schema markup as possible to provide more context would increase your chances into ranking within Perplexity. And if you're following pretty much all the listed ranking factors within Perplexity, other LLMs pretty much have a similar methodology when it comes to ranking. So like in ChatGPT. So if you're following pretty much the specific ranking factors, chances are you're going to rank higher or gain more visibility within different LLMs as well. Now, what's pretty interesting as well, so this is basically a study from Statistic that provides, or basically a study where it showed all the web domains cited by large language models within June 2025. So this is more of like all large language models. What's the number one cited sources listed? So when we're looking at the top, we have Reddit. So Reddit is extremely important. So implementing and positioning your brand within conversations that are relevant would increase more of that chances to be cited within these LLM sources. And interesting enough, I feel like brands are starting to notice the overall impact of Reddit. But when we're looking at it from outside of LLM perspective, but more of like an organic ranking perspective, you can just see the sheer overall growth Reddit's having month to month due to that partnership they have with Google. So they're being heavily prioritized when it comes to ranking. So you're not only integrating yourself within a chance to having just your brand cited as a source within like different LLMs, depending on the type of query, but you're also positioning your brand potentially within a keyword that is high value, number one, but number two is also ranking extremely high. Just looking at the sheer overall organic keywords and the organic traffic that is shown in growth within Reddit in general as well too. So implementing your brand, but making sure you're not also coming off as, promotional, heavy promotional, and providing value to whatever that thread is basically talking about as well. Hopefully you guys found a value in this video. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments below. And if you're interested into seeing how you can improve your brand visibility within different LLMs or even within the traditional searches, there's a link in the description. You can get a free video. So you get a free video SEO audit on basically a full breakdown and strategized plan into improving your visibility. Leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.